certain wrestlers getting spotlights to do certain shows. What's the other one? There was Bloodsport. Who was it before Josh Barnett's gimmick on GCW?
Oh my god. Oh.
It's somebody that just moved up.
That was Matt Riddle.
Yeah. Okay.
Matt Riddle.
So what do you think? What do you think about these wrestler branded events? Meaning like Matt Riddle's Bloodsport, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, Joey Janela's Spring Break, all that stuff. Like, is there a future in this, or is it just kind of like a fad just because of how popular Janela's Spring Break was?
I like it. Again, like I said, when people can find that space, I'm all about when they can find some get in and fit in. Like I love Joey Janela's Spring Break. One of the things I would love to see going forward, especially because Matt Riddle left and now you have Josh Barnett doing it. I like the idea. I got a chance to see the Bloodsport match or this match type. It was kind of like a combination of like Pancrase or one of the like it's basically work shoot style, and I thought it was really cool, and I thought there was a space for it because you have so many people who have such good skills that you look at it and you're like, wow, that's pretty sweet. And then of course, the Dick Party and Spring Break, you have these opportunities for people to be as creative. Like I love the Battle Royal at George. I mean, the Invisible Man, the fact that they had the Invisible Man in the Battle Royal, or you have randomly, the first year, him in the main event against Marty Jannetty pulling out Canadian Destroyer last year against the Great Sasuke, and they're singing, It's My Life. And yeah, it's wild. Like that stuff's wild to me, and it's so out there. Or PCO's match against Walter, where that kind of put him on the map in terms of like, holy crap, this dude PCO is like murdering fools. And so I like it because it gives more people time. And I use this gif a lot from Schitt's Creek, which is a ridiculously funny show. When one of us shine, we all shine. So I think when the case of Joey, he could have put the light just on him, but he's done a heck of a job putting it on other people, and I think that creativity rewards other creativity.
Yeah, and his show in particular has created stars like PCO, like a Marco Stunt. Now he, before he got injured, was working dates with MLW and the like. Now it's amazing how certain shows like that can make others stars. I just remember him training, and I remember him coming up, and he was wrestling with a company called National Wrestling Superstars all the time, and he was trying to find himself, and I don't know how the bad boy gimmick came about, but man, that really took off for him, and now he's got an AEW contract, which I couldn't be happier for him. But either way, yeah, definitely a good story over in pro wrestling. Okay, so we're on with Rich Fann here of PWTorch East Coast Cast. Let me just Blake asked a question, and I'll get to my other one that I had in mind. He asks, quote, How does he survive the marathon East Coast cast
sessions? Well,
usually for those of you who are listening, if you don't, we do the East Coast cast. Travis does it from 6:30 to about 9 p.m. with Cameron Hawkins. Sometimes I'll tag in if he needs me, if Cam has to go to his job or something like that. But usually for us in the evenings, we usually go from about 10 to 1 a.m. for the VIP PWTorch listeners. And to be honest, like part of it is I fall asleep because my day job is one where I can't, not be up for that. So I might just be out of it. And the other is really I enjoy Travis's company. And while we will argue and yell at each other and during, elections, throw things at each other across states, I respect his wrestling mind, and I respect him, period, as a friend. And I think it's fun to banter with somebody and to have over the last couple of years people care. Like that's the wildest thing. Like, we've had so many people we've met and so many times where I've gone to events and people are like, yeah, you and Travis were arguing about this comic you were reading, and I was like, that was us. Or there's some days where people call me out because I'm asleep. I was like, listen, if you can go and hang with Travis and go 6.5 hours of talking wrestling, God bless. For me, at some point, I got to tap out. I think the first thing that needs is time because you don't want to have like 2-minute tag matches. And the second thing is, and I think they did a good job over the course of years, but they forget, particularly in places like WWE, pardon me, teams that matter. It shouldn't just be teams that are just put together for the sake of being put together, even though, in the case of WWE especially, there have been some phenomenal teams put together just because they didn't have anything for singles guys. Like The Bar was basically two dudes who beat the crap out of each other, and they eventually started to respect each other. Now, you can't play that game too many times, but the more you respect it and the more you treat tag teams similar to how the Usos kind of evolved themselves into like they're serious threats. And because they're so good at being tag teams, if you have newer teams against them, there should be some level of kind of like a video game, a leveling up before you get to being as good as them. So I think those are the big things I think to make a tag team wrestling more respected on the national stage.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I hope the Crockett Cup does something. I think with the Young Bucks being who they are, obviously with their position in AEW and their stature as a tag team, that'll certainly help on the bigger stage, depending on what kind of television deal they get. It should be very interesting to see where it goes from here. And I'm always a fan of tag team wrestling, good tag team wrestling, but hopefully within the next several months that'll change because I would like to see the tag team division as a whole get treated, with the proper respect it deserves. All right, we're on the air here with Rich Fann of PWTorch East Coast Cast. NXT call-ups. There have been reports that this was kind of done. I'm paraphrasing here, and I know I'm putting words in people's mouths, and at this point I don't care. It seemed like it was done. My perception is it was done behind Triple H's back because he had no idea this was going on until it was too late. I don't like that way of doing business, like seemingly going behind his back. Obviously, Triple H views NXT as the third brand, which I feel it is too. For a long time now, it's no longer been developmental. It's its own brand that stands on its own 2 feet quite well, actually, to be honest with you. Do you feel that there's kind of like, I don't know what the proper wording would be. Is there like a divide here? Is there like a rift here? Like, it almost seems like a power struggle how to use the talent because Triple H obviously seems, and for good reason, overprotective of those top guys that are now seemingly on the WWE main roster, whereas those are the guys that he's been building NXT off of, Gargano and Ciampa for over 2 years, and Ricochet and Black now for for a good part of a year. Do we sense a power struggle happening here with the talents and how they're managed? Like it almost seems like a war is about to start brewing.
I think the big thing is I wouldn't say there's a power struggle because it's still Vince's company. I don't think Triple H would ever make that move, especially the way his wife respects her dad. I think it's something where it is a family dynamic on top of the corporate dynamic that makes it awkward. I agree with you completely. I don't think he saw this coming, and numerous folks have reported that to be the case. What interests me is how well he kind of navigated those waters, because if you notice, all 4 of the folks won their matches this week. And then you had a week that was pre-taped with NXT where they all looked pretty good. So what's going to be interesting to me over the next few weeks, especially leading into WrestleMania more so than Fastlane, how long he can keep that up. I would also point to his NXT takeover press conferences where he could, on those conference calls, kind of bury Vince, but he always tries to be very magnanimous because I think Triple H, he hasn't gotten to where he is by being a stupid man. So I can see him kind of playing the odds when it comes to some of these situations. And, for every Dana Brooke where he has to kind of sacrifice her like a pawn in a game, he's going to try to protect Velveteen. Where, despite, even Velveteen wanting to be up on the roster a little sooner, he kind of sees where Vince would play with him and put him in a place where it isn't best for the long-term growth. Look at that. What we're seeing now with DIY being reunited without any semblance of Well, they themselves are doing it, but there isn't that much being said by the commentaries.
No, and I'm actually really annoyed with the DIY reunion. Not that it's not a good fit. I mean, both of their matches were excellent between the Bar and the Revival, respectively, on Raw and SmackDown. But yeah, it really I don't like how they kind of taken away Ciampa's dynamic, Ciampa's character, because he's so good. I want the Hannibal Lecter Ciampa. I don't want this kind of like little more upbeat Ciampa. I don't like that. I understand NXT and WWE are two completely different worlds. I mean, it's literally playing with the territory era once again. You know, but within the same umbrella. It's as strange as it is to say. But I kind of wish that there would be a little more respect painted towards NXT and the time that Triple H and the coaches and writers of the story. I don't even think he has that many writers helping him with NXT, to be honest. With that hard work developing these characters, and now it's like you go to WWE and all right, it's a smaller audience, I guess, you know, by comparison, but the hardcore fan that watches both, it's like, this is a Ciampa. And there's no reason for him to be like this. There's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I want to say it's insulting our intelligence, but it's definitely not making sense.
Yeah, I agree. I did a little thing on Twitter because I was driving home from work today, and I kind of had an epiphany thinking about this week with particularly those two guys, because their theme when they were together as DIY was Brass Hearts. Then Johnny got his own theme, Rebel Heart, and Tommaso called himself the Black Heart. And when they came out together, their themes are diametrically opposed to one another. I mean, Johnny comes out and he's like the Rebel Heart, like, which was set up as, you know, even with Tommaso's injuries, he's not going to break me. But then on Tommaso's side, he had no music for a while, and then when he finally came up with the No One Will Survive theme, it starts with a heart flatlining. And so they, like you said, they're built to hate each other. And then the tagging together in the main roster makes that seem like everything was irrelevant. Now, and I'm not one to, because out of respect for your show, I don't know how you all handle spoilers and things like that, but I'm interested to see where tapings go, how Triple H tries to massage that, because even with the interview they did this week on NXT, you could see Johnny was kind of like, I don't know if I like you ever, and he's been more of the pronouns pal. Tommaso's been the person that's more or less the drug dealer, like, hey, you know how good we are together, baby. And
That's a good analogy.
it's been, and that's why I think, to me, it wasn't as weird to see him happy, because he wasn't happy that they're together. He's happy that he was proven right. And there's something kind of diabolical about that.
Yeah. It's like, I guess, like Dark Knight with the Joker and Batman. You know, I don't know, but either way, I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about this yet. But I will say, I don't like Ricochet on the main roster, although he's had good showings. But Aleister Black, I think, out of the four, most belongs on the main roster. He could make it work best. Because honestly, once this tag team thing with Gargano and Ciampa, you know, splits up, I don't foresee anything else coming of those two other than like 205 Live.
Yeah, I really